24 hours ago, the rain started coming and did not stop before several inches fell. We brought you live coverage yesterday from the major flash flooding it caused.
That rain came in just a matter of hours. High water on the road stranded motorists all over town. Forceful floodwater swept this car into Keith Creek near Charles and 22nd. Here it is being pulled out by a tow truck this morning. It sat overnight in the water after the driver of the vehicle was rescued. Between scenes of cars left stranded, residents needed saving too. That meant Rockford firefighters had their hands full.
Hundreds of calls came in to the emergency dispatch center. Reporter Elliot Wilson is live on Charles Street in front of Schnucks. Elliot, it looks a lot different than it did last night when Mimi was out there.
Yeah, Eric and Mimi, I'm live out at the Schnucks on Charles Street. Definitely a much different scene from what we saw last night. In fact, right behind me is the spot where that Cadillac was submerged in the water. And it was definitely a hectic night for not just for first responders, but also for the Good Samaritans that ended up helping that person get out of that vehicle. And I actually spoke with both today to see just how hectic last night was.
We received nearly 400 911 calls between 6 p.m. and midnight last night.
Rockford Fire Chief Derek Bergston talking about the busy night his department had, dealing with this. Heavy rain causing major flooding throughout the Forest City Monday night. Bergston says multiple people were trapped in their vehicles.
We just roughly guesstimate around 30 to 40 people that we helped remove from their vehicles.
Similar to this car on Charles Street. Luckily, Bergston says there were no reports of any injuries. Partly thanks to Good Samaritans like Andrew Evans, who jumped into action to save people from submerged vehicles. Evans says he was on his way to the grocery store when he came across the scene.
Getting groceries for the kids, me and a couple of friends, we go down the way, we see this Cadillac half in the water over here by Schnucks.
Evans says he knew he had to help right away, but it was no easy task, having to battle the water current to get to the car.
There was so much pressure with it pushing, which was amazing actually, that it was actually pushing you when you're walking on the sidewalk.
Something else to consider is the buoyancy force, which is the force that's generated by standing water. This is the same force that keeps cruise ships floating while they're out at sea. And for a car to start floating in the water, all you need is just 2 feet of water, which is to the top of your tire on an average sized car. That is why we always tell you to turn around and don't drown. Another potentially deadly factor, waves generated by those who do drive through the water. One of those waves ended up submerging the Cadillac just seconds after Evans and his friends got the elderly driver out.
It hit this car and the car got pushed all the way off the road into the creek. And the only thing you could see once that wave was done was the back passenger rim.
Even though most of the water has receded, Chief Bergston says there are still some areas to avoid. He wants to remind residents to never drive through floodwaters, since there's no way of knowing how deep it is.
People misjudge how deep it is. We advise not to drive through standing water. Try to avoid the Alpine Dam. A lot of people want to go there and see how much water there is.
And guys, I should mention that we do have a chance for thunderstorms this evening. Candace will let you know whether or not flooding will still be a concern. Live from the Schnucks on Charles Street, I'm Elliot Wilson. Eric and Mimi, back to you.
Elliot, thanks for the live report.